Welcome back to another episode of Buckle Up, an ultra running conversation. How are you doing today, Mandy?
I'm doing well, Brian. Just enjoying some coffee and beautiful fall day. Feel like I'm relaxing a little bit after a big race weekend, and now I get a coast for a couple months.
You get a little downtime, right? What's the next event? So you just had the Windsor Marathon, just to kind of preface it. That was at recording today. It was just a couple days ago or so. And that is marathon, half, K, 5K?
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a lot.
it's a lot of distance and a 1 mile run this year, which was
Ooh.
a lot of fun. Mostly
Is it
kids.
just for kids?
It's not. No, we partnered with Banner Health this year. They really wanted
Oh,
to
cool.
focus on giving people an accessible distance to do if they're not into running, to kind of remove the intimidation factor, which can be a drug. Like they get done with that 1 mile, and whether it's adults or kids are like, I'm going to do a 5K next,
Next thing they're running 240 miles around Moab or something.
something like that. That's how it starts. You all know how it goes. You guys know how it
Yeah.
goes. It started with a 5K. It all started with a
Yep.
kiss. That's that country song.
I'm
Yeah.
not familiar with that one or
You don't
very
know
many
that one?
country songs. Not very many.
I'll sing it next time, not today. Yeah, it was a good weekend though. We had almost 800 runners.
Wow, that's
So,
great. And where do you think the farthest participant came from? Do you know off the top of your head?
Brazil.
Whoa, that's pretty far.
Yeah,
Like
and then I
Brazil,
think
Indiana, or Brazil, the country.
like Brazil, the country.
I don't even know if there's a Brazil, Indiana. Maybe there is. I don't know.
I bet there is. There's probably a lot of Brazils in the states. Yeah, Brazil. I think we had 26 states represented this year at the race,
Nice. That's over half of
and
them.
yeah, we're getting there.
Nice.
Like one person from each state until everyone listening comes and runs.
They're
But
represented. That's a
yeah,
representation
they're
of the
representing.
state. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure to a state as a single person.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of pressure for me when I'm like, there's one person here from Florida. I'm like, man, I really got to make this Floridian happy. So they want to come back. Yeah, it was fun though. Had a good time. How was your weekend?
The weekend was pretty uneventful. We did. I don't even know what we did. Oh, we had a race, a high school cross country race last Friday in Delta. That was fun. That was good. Kids did well, and then it was kind of a chill weekend. Big weekend coming up, so kind of prepping for that. We have all sorts of things going on here at our house. It is my daughter Penelope's 10th birthday on Friday the 10th. There's also fall break here in the school district, so we have Friday off and Monday off. So we have a 4-day weekend for Indigenous Peoples Day, I believe it is on Monday. It used to be Columbus Day, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have a 4-day weekend here in town, plus a big birthday. They're going to an amusement park here locally in the valley, and then they're going to have a sleepover. So that gets me off the hook
So what are
with
you going to do?
five 11-year-old girls in my house are going to be destroying the area behind this camera. So I'm going to go to Moab and help out at this 240. I have some athletes racing. Michael and Jeff will be there racing. I'll be pacing Jeff from Road 46 to Geyser Pass, which is pretty late in the race. It's mile 171 to 201, so a 30-mile section up the LaSalle's. So he's not a mountain guy, but we've been working on it. So he's ready.
Okay.
They're both really ready. And I'm going to go work the Masaback aid station with my friends, Mark and Leanne from the valley here. And I'm going to go to the start. And then I got a couple hours between there where I'll help out Nora, and Simon will be there
Mhm.
participating. I'm going to help out Nora and shuttle her around a little bit, drop off a car and get her to a different aid station so she can crew for Simon and pace him to where we drop off the car, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, I'll
All the
just be hanging
logistics.
around in and around Moab all weekend and enjoying some race stuff. Is hopefully it changes, but right now the forecast isn't looking great for the first 48 hours. So maybe some precipitation,
Mm.
which is not great for multiple day racing, but whatever.
Yeah, it'd be nice at the end, like the last 4 hours, to
Mm,
get a little cool down. No,
I,
that's how I feel. I love running in precipitation though.
yeah, I mean maybe like the last 10 minutes, but
Okay.
but the last like shit from 171 to the finish is all through the LaSalle Mountains, and that
Mhm.
precipitation would be in the form of snow and not just a nice rain.
Not a
So
drizzle.
not a drizzle, it'd be snow. And we've had snow years before with reroutes because snow was pretty high. Reroutes while athletes were on the course. That's happened on a couple of different occasions. I want to say 2018 was snowpocalypse. It was referred to as snowpocalypse on the Moab course. And 21, I got destroyed at Geyser Pass aid station. Oh no, I was actually at Porcupine Rim, mile 220 and got destroyed with snow. A lot of our tents were collapsing and kind
Oh
of
my gosh.
weighted down with snow on top of them. Yeah, it was. It's always something there. But the 2 years I ran, I never had dealt with precipitation, so I feel fortunate that luckily those are the years that I made it through the event and finished.
Would you rather be out there with precipitation as the crew or as the runner?
Oh, the crew. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know there's mandatory gear and there's all these things that they make us carry, and I carry it all, don't
Mm-hmm.
get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, in snow, not that I wouldn't be prepared for snow if I started the race. Like I usually go pretty light and pretty minimal. A lot of the guys that were finishing the race in snowpocalypse, they had like essentially like hiking boots on that were like waterproof and those things. And I'm still in running sneakers and no socks. And so running sneakers and no socks doesn't fare well in the snow usually.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to follow along. Your athletes that are doing it, is this their longest distance for both of them? First
Yeah, it
time?
will be. Yeah, definitely for Jeff. Gosh, Michael might have. He's coming really close. He's done like last man standing type of stuff
Okay.
and like loop courses for like 72 hours and just different formats that aren't the standard 100-mile race or something like that. And Jeff did 125 past year at Sedona Canyons at
Mm,
the Cocodona mini Cocodona.
mini donut.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, have you ever thought about being like a news anchor or a talk show host of some sort?
When I was little, I played pretend news anchor a lot.
That's funny because last year at Javelina 100, I was a news anchor as a costume and I interviewed people. Actually, it was really fun.
I
But
feel
I
like
don't know if.
there's a lot of buzz. You did well. I think you might have won best costume from what I saw.
Mm,
It was a good one.
it was decent. It was good. It was effective too because I was able to get a lot of content from it. But on the same note, there's always some really good costumes there, and I surely did not win for sure. So, but where I was going with this is that our guest today has had that privilege. He wanted to be the Dan Rather of the news world. For those of you that are much younger than myself, Dan Rather was a really famous news reporter back in the 1900s.
That's what my kids would say. Mom, is this song from the 1900s? Yeah, he took an interesting path to get there too. I think that's what I enjoyed about the story was the pivots and the way that he went into being an anchor. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, Mark Vega did definitely take an interesting approach to life in general. Gosh, he's done quite a few things in different aspects and different realms. And later in life, had some medical issues that he kind of suggests brought life to his adventure, right? But I feel like it was before that too. Maybe that motorcycle accident that he talks about as a teenager might have also brought life to his existence and his plan for where he wanted to be in life because he's full of excitement, full of energy. You could hear it in the conversation alone. But yeah, really, really awesome story. He's been a big follower of Buckle Up for quite a while. We talk about it in the episode, but he's always commenting and sharing and hitting me up on DMs and just kind of carrying the conversation on about his thoughts about the show or adding in his 2 cents. And it's always been welcomed and fun to interact with him.
Yeah, he had a fun energy about him. This was my first time interacting with him, and he really has that zest for life. And I think you're right, Brian. I think it's the motorcycle accident that seems like ever since then, probably before then, I would imagine him as a youth, energetic and a go getter, and he really is just embodying that. We don't know if we're going to have tomorrow, so what are we doing with today to make the best of it? And some of these close calls that he's had with his health have just kept propelling him forward, continuing that conversation with other people about moving into an older age and keeping moving and just why not me? And don't be the one serving the quesadillas at the aid station. Be the one eating the quesadillas at the aid station, no matter
What a
your
great
age.
segue. That's right. So, yeah, Mr. Mark Vega started the podcast inviting older athletes on to talk about their experiences. Gosh, and the older the athlete, it seems like the more stories they're able to tell, right? And I think that's what he's conveying through his podcast. He's early on, a little bit behind us, but I'm sure he'll catch up quickly. I thought he was 10 episodes deep, but they're great too. He's really creative and really got a feel for it. And again, with that, going back to that little stint of him being a news reporter, he's really charismatic and able to carry the conversation smoothly and let it flow.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see how he builds up that ultra sign up resume. It kind of seems like he's just getting started, but I don't think a lot's going to slow him down.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate you listening. Check out Mark's content. We'd be happy to share it. Give him a like and a follow as well. And we'll catch up to you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Mr. Mark Vega, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate you taking some time out of your day to join us on the podcast. How's your day going so far?
It's going great, Brian. I won't bring up anything from the past. I'm certainly not going to ask about how your knees are, but wait a second. Did you right out of your mouth, first words out of your mouth was Mr. Mark Vega? So listen, as you get older, as I get older, nobody ever called me Mr. until something happened magically. And all of a sudden I'm Mr. Vega. You know, how about this? Coming down the trails and like, I'm coming down the trails and I was, hey guys, and like, excuse me, sir. They're like, excuse me, sir. I'll take it. I don't mind. I know it's fine. So Mr. Vega says, good afternoon. Nice to see you both, Mandy, Brian. Nice to be here. Really nice to be here.
Yeah, it's good to meet you, Mark. When does the Mr. and Mrs. start? I don't know that anyone's called me Mrs. yet. So when can we do that?
Feel fortunate, Mandy. Feel fortunate.
I mean, I am 40 now, so it's coming any day now, right?
I don't know. I feel like I remember my grandma when I was probably 6 years old saying, Mr. Vega, right? So when I'm 6. And so it was some kind of level of an attribute of not authority, but accountability. So like Mr. right? So I don't know. So I carried that for the longest time. And now you can call me anything you like. I heard Brian say that once too. So I don't care what you call me. Just call me. Okay.
It's funny. I coach high school cross country, and I tell them all to call me Coach Brian, Coach P. Pacenti is it's not challenging last name, but for some people it might be, but it's fine. So I don't care again what you call me, but they call me Mister. Mister, and I'm like, where did you come up with this from? Like, this wasn't coach is so simple. Why are you really thinking of this, overthinking this, and calling me Mister? And it's not even Mister anything. It's just Mister.
Well, that's different. Mr. Pacenti is one thing, but just Mister, then it's different. But I love there's some level of respect, homage, awareness, whatever we address people as, right? So it's good. All good. It's all good.
Yeah,
so
they are thinking about it. They are trying. Yeah.
Cameras. That's really cool. Nice to be saddled up with the old Buckle Up podcast. Here we go.
Mark, you got a storied past, and we want to hear all about it. Gosh, it goes pretty far down, deep into teenage childhood years. Goes through the 20s. I mean, it goes through all the decades, I guess. Apparently, I mean that's just the way life works. But there's a little bit of something in each decade of your life that's kind of a significant turn of events or trajectory changer or a direction shift, and you wind up here. So let's just dive right into it. Tell us a little bit about how you found yourself in the ultra running community. And then we want to talk about your podcast and where you got coming up. But let's dive all the way back into your early years. Gosh, I think you got some teenage things going on.
Okay. Hi. Okay. Great. Are you sure? Because I started talking. Once I decided I'm going to keep running long, I started talking to people over 60. And first thing you realize when you talk to people over 60, I mean, just imagine the number of stories you all have at 40. You got so many stories. Now imagine being, 1/3 more of a life. There's too many stories. So first thing I tell people over 60, look, man, you're amazing. We could talk about everything from day one, but I ain't got time for that. We're not writing a book. It's a podcast, man. Come on. How much? So having said that, though, Brian, I'm very, there's so many stories we can pack in, and I need to kind of mirror our energy together and not be like this maniac going on a fly of what happened. But how about this? I'll tease a couple of things and set up to the big ones, because the big one is, the reasons that I really started running is because I had a stroke. But I'll take it back for a second to get there, right? I guess at 16, I'm in Ohio, Midwest kid. I'm in Ohio. I get in a motorcycle accident at 16. I lose 5 units of blood. We only have 8. I lose my spleen. We don't need a spleen except until you're 25, and it's a great filter for alcohol. So that's another great kind of topic we can skirt around. But so I survive after intensive care. I survive, and so I survived that, and I'm grateful. But I don't have a spleen. Then I get the bug a couple years later. I decide I'm going to be Peter Jennings. I'm going to take his place. I need to be a broadcaster. I can't figure out how to get enough money to pay for college to do that, because at the time I thought, I guess I need to have a college degree. It was always in the works, in the cards, but if I was going to take Peter Jennings' job, I'm going to do something, right? So I joined the U.S. military, proud Army veteran. I joined in the Cold War. I joined with one purpose. One purpose was to go get a broadcasting gig in the military. Now, luckily, there is such a thing. I found out about it. And as long as you make it through boot camp and training, then you can do that. So luckily I was on the air, the American Forces Korea Network, on air with a young guy. I wasn't even 19 years old, and ended up getting the 6 p.m. News anchor desk job for a couple of years while I was in the military. Those videos were lost until a couple of months ago when some friends of mine who were in that same unit found them and started publishing them. So for the first time after decades, my kids had heard about me being on the air in the military, and they're like, Dad, that's not a thing. So when they saw my anchor, newscast, they were just like, wow. So best job ever. I get out of the military, and so I'm certain I'm doing that, going to be doing that forever and ever and ever. But then I got this bootleg tape of this talk show radio host, guy named Rush Limbaugh, and he was so bombastic. I'm like, how are they going to give this guy a syndicated deal? That's ridiculous. And at the time, I'm thinking, I need a little more ammunition. What can I use so I can get online, get my own talk radio show? How's that going to work? And I'd watched enough television. Play Law had just come on. I'm like, oh, hey, I can talk a good game. I'm going to be a lawyer. Why not? So that's what I did. Rush Limbaugh and the LA Law TV show pushed me towards becoming a lawyer. So I go to law school, get out of law school. Only place to work as a lawyer is in LA and New York, right? And I loved LA law, so why not just work in LA? So that's what happened, if you can believe it. Passed the bar first time, moved to California. I'm practicing in LA law, and I am just on it. And so I'm really grateful for that. I messed up my knees. Both knees had meniscus issues, and both my patellas had to be repaired while I was in the military, because I did in the military do something called road guard. You ever see a movie when you have the whole platoon of people like marching down the street or kind of running down the street, jogging down the street? Well, the road guards have reflective vests, and they sprint to the next intersection, and then they stand at parade rest, and they wait until the whole platoon marches past, right? Zoom, 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 double time. You've seen those movies. And once it passes the intersection, the road guards are in the back. We, boom, sprint to the next intersection. So that's what I did while I was in the military. So that was some kind of running for sure. But I injured both my knees and had surgery on both my knees. So I stopped running. By the time I get to law school, I'm not really running anymore. So here's the best news about both of you. As a host of a podcast, when a guest says, tell me your story, here's the best thing I can tell you. Guess what? Boom, we're going to zoom past almost 30 years. So we're not going to cover all that other stuff, having kids, having twins. They're all grown now. It's amazing, but I'll get to, so that's really how I started. But in 2015, running a couple of businesses, pretty excited about it. And then I'm having a coffee and telling my intern what's the best way to do a job that I was having them do. And my words disappear. They fall from the sky and they disappear from me. Now, as a lawyer, the one thing you don't want to lose, lots of things probably, one of the things you don't want to lose is work. Do you ever see The Matrix, the movie where the green numbers are like going, right, like falling away? In my mind, in that moment, I saw letters in a dictionary just falling away. And I all of a sudden was talking really clunky. And next thing, plus, well, the kind of, so I'm talking like that. And I tell my assistant in so many words, I'm like, look, I've never said this before. I'm going right to the hospital. I didn't say it exactly like that because it was all chunky and broken up and she was freaking out, but I was fine. Anyway, I got myself to the hospital and I had a major stroke. And that's no good. In the hospital for a couple of days. And finally, we're to the good part. Because finally, after a couple of months of recovery and the words came back, thank God, trying to hide this. When this happens, when you get a stroke, it's not like a heart attack. You don't know when to tell or what to tell, especially as a lawyer. I had a thriving practice. Like, what? You can't go tell people, well, my brain just malfunctioned and it's going to be okay. Just trust me. You can't say that shit. So you had to be quiet about it, but it kept up the practice. And a couple months after the stroke, doctor says, you got a high metabolism, you're in good shape, but why don't you start walking? And I said, if I start walking, I want to poke my eyes with pencils. I can't walk. So do you imagine? I'm 51 at the time. Imagine a doctor tells you that. Immediately when you walk, I'm thinking of like a mall walker. When a doctor prescribes you to walk, that's what I imagine. Like people walking around the mall. I'm like, all right, this cannot be my life. No way. So I'm like, well, can I run? I was like, well, if you try. So I learned about, picked up everything I could. This is 2015. So I was able to do some research and kind of figure out what things were, how things worked. I found this great website, most comprehensive site I ever heard in my life, called Training Peaks. And I loved your episodes about Training Peaks, by the way, really good. I'm glad you both kind of go in there and really double down and making sure you know how it works. So I love Training Peaks. I get my watches, my watch to keep track of things, and I sign up for the LA Marathon. It's going to be Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2016. And I'm so excited because I'm back. No stroke's going to take me down. It's okay. We still don't know what happened or what caused it. Doesn't matter. I'm working. I'm just moving forward. So I do my training runs, and I'd never run any kind of distance. And I got my knees checked out. It turns out there was calcification and some scar tissue over my knees where the original surgery was years ago. But it was just little tissue, could just be, you can get over it. You can physical therapy and work through it. So that happened. So thank you for letting me tell that part of the story. I do my long run, 20 miles a month before the LA Marathon in 2016. I am the man. I'm so excited because, man, boom, stroke's gone. I'm good to go. Never ran a marathon. People are still telling me, oh my God, it's bad for your knees, right? It's how can you do this? And month before the marathon, the day after this long run, there's a bunch of people in the house, and I'm standing at the kitchen counter and having a salad and just being all my own self. I knocked a little cup onto the floor, and I knocked the cup down on the floor, and I reached down to pick it up, and my hands was all wobbly. Like, what? So I reached down, couldn't pick it up, and what? And I called out to my daughter, Evelyn, hey, Evelyn, come on here, help me pick up this glass. My daughter, Evelyn, hears me saying, hey, Dad, hears me say, Robert, so she's like, she comes in, she's like, Dad, you're such a goofball. And then she continues on with her friend. Meantime, mother of my children slides into frame in the hallway, as though it was risky business. But instead of a hairbrush, she has in her hand a cell phone. She said, Mark, you're having another stroke. I'm like, I didn't have another stroke. I just dropped the glass. Of course, she hears me barking like a seal. Shut up. You're going to scare the kids. Stop. Don't say anything. I'm like, what? Say what? Of course, I get more defense. I'm like, what? I'm fine, man. I'm just training for a marathon. I'm the man. So she gets real close to me and says, shut up, Mark. This is bad. I'm like, what? So I look down and I can't pick up the glass. And then I realize I can't stand up. And then I realize, like, how can I get up? And I literally hit the floor because now I'm challenged. Like, this is ridiculous. I didn't have a stroke. I'm just, what's going on? Your brain can't process what's happening. I'm like Curly from Three Stooges on the floor trying to get up, and I couldn't. Within a half a second, the paramedics show up. And so I'm thinking, but this was rigged. I mean, this was 15 seconds has passed. How is a medic person there? But they show up. Mr. Vega, you're having another stroke. Didn't have a stroke. I dropped a glass. And of course, they hear me barking like a seal again. They get the old hospital from 6 months back, get the nurse on the phone. She gets on. She finally says, what does she say, Brian? Guess what? Mr. Vega says, Mr. Vega, this is blah, blah from the hospital 6 months. You remember me? You had a stroke 6 months ago. You're having another stroke, we believe. But these fine professionals, you can tell them no, it's against medical advice. But I'm calling you because I'm saying you should listen to them. I looked at the paramedics in my kitchen. I look at all the people in my kitchen. Like, now there's a crowd. I'm like, and in that instant, I'm like, oh my God. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Let's go. And so for the first time, I hear my own voice saying those words in that manner. And I realize, oh man, I must sound like a cuckoo bird. Like, what is this? So I get going. They take me to the hospital. I'll speed this up. I get more doctors. It's insane. Blood doctor puts his hand on my shoulder and says, Mr. Vega, had you not been exercising so much, that second stroke on the other side of your brain, twice as big, would have killed you. And I said, okay, doc, okay. That wasn't good enough. He puts both hands on my shoulder. No, Mr. Vega, had you not been exercising, had you not been as fit as you are right this minute, and you had this second stroke, he goes, you would be dead. There was a real dramatic pause, and it hit me in my heart, and everything stopped. I'm like, okay, I understand. I now understand. I'm grateful to be here. Thank God for the team of people that kind of helped me and were patient enough for me to understand what the heck was going on. So I get I go back, more doctors, more thing. Oh, aphasia, same thing, right? I still dropped some more words, but this time within 72 hours, I'm fine and I can grip things. And it was very quick and very bizarre, but still very scary to everybody. Second one, they don't know what caused it. They don't know if they can prevent it. And that's the big issue. Even to this day, they don't just got to live a good life and be grateful every day because you just don't know what's going to happen. Finally, the doctor says by May, the neurologist, same guy who was happy to see me go to the LA marathon. I had all this training. I didn't want to lose it. I got back on started to run again. I said, can I run a marathon? I need to at least do this. He said, yeah, I think so. And I said, when? He said, I don't know, November, December. So I picked up my phone and opened it up and do a search. And first marathon that comes up is New York City Marathon, the Grand Kahuna, Big Kahuna, first week of November 2016, election week. Like, okay, what about New York? He's like, okay, go ahead, November 1st. So as it turns out, long story longer, my fastest marathon time was that marathon, my first marathon ever, the New York City Marathon. And I came in under the darkness, but they have lights on at night. You finish in the park at night. So I finished in the darkness, 5 hours and 40 minutes and 19 seconds. But I bawled my eyes out like a little baby. I didn't have anybody there because we didn't know what was going to happen. I could have stroked out. We just didn't know. So I didn't want my family to be there just in case I dropped dead, right? I didn't want that. But I finished it. And that really set me on the path toward running. So that was the longest introductory comment ever from Brian's mentioning me. Like, what do you think? How'd you get into this thing? But that's how it started. And so that's how it started.
That is not the record, first off, for the longest intro, because we've only been on 18 minutes at this point.
Yeah, that wasn't that much. And you covered a large time span. And so New York was 2016, is that right?
New York's 2016. That's right.
And
So-
16, and
never
so you
went
were
to LA.
52?
I didn't do that LA, but I did do others.
You were 52 at the time of New York?
Yeah, yes, that's right. 51 of the first stroke, and then 6 months later I had that second stroke, so I was 52. So 52 is the first marathon I did.
Yeah, that's great. And you weren't really active between those 30 years then in your law firm stuff?
Not as a runner.
Not on a regular basis? Not as a runner?
Not as a runner. Like I worked out. I had gyms. I had coaches, or not coaches. I had
personal trainer?
what do you call it? Yeah, trainers. I had trainers over time and various law firms and started my own company. So my own firm, like I had different places that were equipped with different types of modalities to stay fit. And I'm I have a pretty high metabolism, so nothing stays on very long. Did all kinds of diets in the meantime. So yeah, by the time it hit, that's why it was surprising to people, because it's not like I wasn't a drinker. I did smoke a lot of cigars. And so when the first day that it happened, the everybody wanted to make cigars the evil one, but the doctors took 1,000 tests, like, dude, yeah, we'd love to tell you cigars did it, but they didn't. We can't figure it out. So I did tell. That was the last time I had a cigar, though. Right before the first stroke, I'm like, oh, I'll be done with cigars.
Mark, in that marathon, I'm curious. Everyone's first is, you don't know what you're going into, and now that you've gone into the ultra world, just speaking on the marathon, how would you describe the end of that? You're feeling like you're coming in at nighttime and it's slow, or it's taking you forever. Did you feel in that moment before you even crossed that finish line that this would be a part of your life forever? Is it hey man, I've been out here for too long, might be one and done?
My New York experience was the greatest experience in the world. And now, because I haven't done world majors, haven't gone marathons all over the place, but it's the biggest party in the world. And I loved it. Like every little piece of it was so dramatic and exciting, like getting on the ferry and lining up in the right corral. And I will say this, until the New York City Marathon, I never took a selfie. Since the New York City Marathon, I spent so much time taking photos during the race. In part, Mandy, I think it was is this really happening? It's finally here. I'm doing it. I'm running over the bridge. These are the bridges, man. And I'm screaming my heart out. And I did have a couple of friends who had one friend, and his kid was a little baby then, so many years ago. It was like a little baby, and they had a sign for me and that kind of stuff. So it was in Power Up. And so it was my first real experience, Mandy. So I had no reference point. And so, of course, when I step in, I'm like, man, no wonder marathon universe is so awesome, because they're all like this. Now, of course, New York is going to be big, but in my head, I'm like, oh, everyone must be like this. So it wasn't, I didn't have a sense that I was going slow, Mandy. And I didn't have a sense that I was in pain or it was harder than I expected or just none of that. Because for me, it was this culmination of so many things, right? And so when I finished, I was just like, I had so much adrenaline. Probably, yeah, that's what it was. Once it got dark and you run through the streets in Central Park and it's nighttime and there's just so many people out there and you hear people cheering, not for you, just because people are partying and it's a good time. So that was when I crossed the line. I did cry and I was so grateful. And I knew that, that motorcycle accident didn't kill me. No other kind of crazy shit that happened to me in my life in that 30-year span that we never talked about because it's the long life. Yeah, I was pretty stoked. So what I did know, Mandy, was that, when in New York, you have the medal and you have the coolest swag in the world, right? Which is the poncho. They were still blue at the time because it was a TCS event. And that long walk around the park to wherever you're at, it is the coolest thing in the whole world. And I'm by myself, right? I don't really know anybody. I have a lot of clients that know that I'm kind of there, but they weren't involved in it really. I loved it. So I was definitely hooked. And I'll tell you that the one thing I know, Mandy, that tells me that, oh yeah, I'm a runner now is that was not a one-off. And so I don't think I waited more than, 12 hours to jump back and figure out where can I register next. I want to go to LA. I want to do LA because I trained for LA and wasn't able to do LA. And so that happened. So I was in.
I think it's a rite of passage to freeze your ass off on Staten Island after you take the ferry over there. I did it in 14, the race. It was my first marathon. I had done other events. Yeah, I'd done other events, but I grew up just outside of New York City, northern New Jersey. I'd lived in Midtown for a while. So, I always knew New York was going to be my first major marathon. I'd done Ironmans. I'd done a marathon in an Ironman, but not a specific marathon or just a marathon by any means. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the other thing. Mandy, have you done New York? I don't remember.
I've never done New York, no, but I think at the beginning when you were kind of describing, and maybe I got you wrong, but you describing coming in like at night made it sound like you were like, oh man, I've been out here forever and this is taking so long. And I was relating it to my first marathon. I did the Colfax. No, not the Colfax. It was the Rock and Roll Marathon in Denver.
Okay.
And I remember setting a goal, and not that time matters at all, but to me anymore, really. But I remember setting a goal for like 4.5 hours, and then it ended up being like 5.5 hours or 5:45 or something. And I remember feeling miserable during it, and like my knees hurt, but also that same feeling of like, but we're doing it and feeling awesome. And I think towards the end, it was like the energy at these big marathon races really do keep you going, and you're grateful for the crowds and the music and everything, but kind of speaking like age and keep going at an older age kind of made me tie this all in my mind. But we were getting close to the finish, maybe 2 miles to go. And my husband was running with me. He'd run a couple of marathons and maybe he had already qualified for Boston. So he was, fast relative to his age. And I was definitely not. It was my first one. And I'm feeling like proud of myself and like, I'm hooked. This is awesome. I'm in a lot of pain and I'm going slower than I thought, but here we are. And as we're running, and I feel like I'm running fast, a gentleman passes by me. And as he goes, Nick was like, okay, Mandy, that guy's probably 80. And he probably was. That guy's passing you. And I think he made the comment in the moment. And it didn't like hurt my feelings at all. And then a few weeks later, he had said something out loud, and we were with his family, and I'm like proud of myself. And Nick's listening to this now and probably like, oh my gosh, stop telling the story. But I'm like proud of myself. I'm like, I ran a marathon. I just had a baby. I think Carter was 4 months old or something when I ran my first marathon. So I'm like, I ran a marathon, and he's like, yeah, and an 82-year-old pastor. And I was like, he hurt my feelings, and and I don't think I thought a lot about like longevity then. I think I just was like, man, an 82-year-old passed me. And now I see that much differently, having been in the space for 13 years now, or having run my first marathon 13 years ago. But now I see people above whatever age, into their 60s, 70s, 80s. And I'm so impressed with them. But I got my feelings hurt. So to that 80.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm telling you, because I've heard enough of your episodes. Yeah, thank you. Because I heard enough of your episodes, I'm like, that Nick dude, man, all he can give you is tough love. Come on, Nick, give me a break, man. Man, like something recently, they're like, well, Nick's going to pace me to the very end. So I have my pacers who are really, really cheering me on. They really supported me, and then there's Nick, like, then. Listen, it takes whatever, right? It takes. We don't need to. Simon wants
the last time the last time I saw Nick, he told me I was his favorite podcast host. But if I'm not your favorite podcast host anymore, Nick, I totally understand if you don't listen to our podcast anymore.
Yeah, Nick, listen, man, it's just one episode. You're just going to have to get over it. We're going to give you some tough love. Come back for the next episode. It's fine. It's fine.
I mean, he knows he hurt my feelings, but it was 13 years ago. And
listen, that's the other thing that I listened to both of you, and I've listened to every podcast, and because I caught you way early on when you and Simon just started. I think you'd only had been up like number 12 or something. By the time I first met you, I think, Mandy, yours at episode 32 or something like that. So I had met you through this podcast. And but what I liked about it was that you're talking about your family structures. And it's really important, I think, to kind of the way you now do this intro. And it's really good because you're able to check in with each other, not about your knees, but it's life, man. Life is, you're running races, you're organizing races. Brian, you're coaching. The fact that, you do so much more for your kids than just, online tutorials, right? You're showing up for them. And I think it's really impressive. And so while I don't know Nick, because you've referred to him at least once or twice, I think that's what happens when you're a consumer of a podcast, of any podcast, when the host kind of lets you in a little bit. It's just good. We have more of a connection. You have more of a connection because you feel like that way when Mandy spits out a statement about a blah, blah, blah. Well, it's all baked in the filters that you've already provided for me because I know who you are up to this moment in time. Right. And I love it. I love it and I appreciate it. And my friends told me, what else? Your knees have to hurt after marathons. And I said, well, I can tell you this. I can tell you that the cement bridges in New York are harder than most of the other parts of the course. I didn't have an awareness of such a thing. And then I realized, oh, whoa, I run on asphalt. It's one thing. You got to run on cement. Like what? And all my training was a lot, on the sidewalks of LA. And so I would start running in the middle of the street or running on asphalt. And one of my friends is like, dude, but you enjoy running? Like, yeah. And you're telling me that all you're trying to do is fix the how your feet feel on the surface? Yeah. And he said, well, you're not going to, why don't you try this? I'm like, what? He said, you ever hear of trail running? I'm like, no, what's that? So once my friend says, get out on the trails, and Griffith Park, the LA's primary middle of the city park, then that's when everything really changed. Because all of a sudden, I don't have friends like Simon saying, how's your knees, Brian? I don't have that. Nobody's asking about my knees because it's fine. The knees are fine, man. I'm fit. Let's go. But I did get introduced to trail running. And that changed.
It took you a minute, though. I think it was 2019, right? I think you said in some of the notes.
Yeah, I think I ran the Bulldog in 2017, but I ran my first 50K, Kira Henniger's races, KH races, March of 2019. Rainy day, rained all day. I'd never had that before, but it's March in LA too, so it could have been cold, but it wasn't. It was relatively warm, but raining. And LA, if you know LA at all, it's like it kind of gets rainy. It kind of misty rains. By the time you get all excited about it, it stops, right? This was not that. This was a downpour. This was an all-day event. And I showed up, and to this day, New York was great because it's New York and it's always a separate that's a separate category. My favorite race ever, though, because it rained the whole time. And it was muddy and it wasn't too cold. It was kind of warm, sliding all over the place. And it felt like such a party. I'd never run that far before ever in my life. And I thought after I finished it, and yes, I was exhausted. And yes, I, made myself sandwiches and slept in my truck for like 6 hours afterwards, right there in the parking lot. So definitely, was something I hadn't done before. Same thing. Yeah. Next thing, I'm like, oh, what's next?
That is also a rite of passage, just as much as hanging out in Staten Island and freezing your ass off after the ferry. Sleeping in your vehicle after a race is a total rite of passage.
Yeah, I forgot about the Staten Island to say that. Yeah, the other thing I learned, you read all, I was just reading how to do it. you wear this, you wear layers of clothing, Mandy, that you're willing to throw away when you get to Staten Island because it's cold, and you wear, so when I thought that seems like that logistically, I don't know how that makes sense. Totally makes sense because you literally strip off your clothes, and it's like the biggest contribution to goodwill you can imagine. It goes on forever, 70,000 people. So there's giant bins of clothes. And so when it happened, I was like so grateful I didn't get that, how it worked. And so that was just one other little element of why it just made so much sense with that kind of race directing and race guidance. So I know you've got challenges all the time. You took this on, Mandy, but you figured it out enough to write a book about it. So that's something. But the rite of passage of sleeping in your truck after your first ultra, yeah, I'll go with that. I bet that's a real thing. That's a real thing. And since then, I did a couple more New York. I did 2 New Yorks. I did 2 LAs.
Oh, great.
I have a Boston medal. But there's 2 ways to get into Boston. Do you know that? Well, 3 ways. One way is, I guess you got to be like Nick. You got to qualify.
You gotta be able to do this work.
Right. And the other way is you can run for charity and raise a ton of money. You can do that. But there's a third way. So the first time when you guys ran, it was going to be Nick's first, not yours, right? Or I don't know, it was yours first. So 2013, I think this is why I really remember the story, because of my part of it, Mandy. So 2013 Boston Marathon bombing, Marathon Monday, right? So in 2013. So the day before there's a bunch of vets and first responders who decided that they can't run Boston, but they're going to create this thing from a nonprofit created this thing called the Tough Ruck. And they wanted to let people cover the marathon distance, but walk through the Concord and Lexington, the battlefields, Revolutionary War battlegrounds, like outside of Boston, right? And that's fine, but I never would have really heard of it or thought of it. But they do that. But many of those people were on hand at the bleachers, at the finish line during the bombing. And they all jumped into action, as the story goes. And it was at that point in time, or sometime after that the Boston Athletic Association, which only runs the Boston Marathon, but it was some point after that the Boston Athletic Association asked these guys, "What are you doing? What is this thing? What's a Tough Ruck?" And so they brought it under the Boston Athletic Association's wing. So now they have 2 races. They have the Tough Ruck on Sunday, and then they have the Marathon Monday on Monday. And it started in 2013. They owned it, or they started to participate with it, sponsor it, and eventually take it over, starting in 2014, the very next year. But what a great, forged in fire and forged in commitment and forged in community. Was a great story. And old Mark here figures out, he hears this story, says, "Oh, wait, check this out. There's limited to 1,000 people doing the Tough Ruck." And at the time, it was only first responders and vets. It couldn't just be in the outside. So I'm a vet, and I'm thinking, I want that Boston medal. I don't want to have to raise $12,000 or whatever it is. And I hear that the first 1,000 medals of each year's Boston Marathon goes to the people up to 1,000 who completed the Tough Ruck the day before. It's the same medal. The difference is the lanyard says Tough Ruck, but it's the same medal. And when I realized, I still had to raise money to do it, but it was a lot easier. And I knew that I could finish that marathon distance, during the Tough Ruck. So I reassembled my military gear, my battle dress uniform, the BDU, the camouflage, right? I reassembled it, including everything authentic, including the pack, and everything except for the boots. The regulations say, no, get new boots. Don't wear boots that are 30 years old. That's not good. From an insurance liability perspective, we don't want you using old issue Army boots. Go get new boots. Here's the ones you can get. So I get them, and I decide I register for the heavy category. So that means you have to carry 35 pounds during the ruck, and but you have to carry everything in and everything out. So you're going to consume water, so you have to load up stuff. So I didn't know exactly how much I should be carrying, and anyway, I loaded up the ruck and filled it with 45 pounds worth of stuff, and then I did the marathon, did the ruck. And the coolest thing about it for me at the time, other races now do it too, but for me, I'd never heard of this. You get to pick your own number, your bib number. So I picked number 999 because I imagined myself finishing saying 999 coming in hot, right? That's what I imagined me saying. So I had the video in my head, right? I was ready to make that happen. So I get my 999. I do the ruck, finish coming in hot. It was fantastic. Then they weigh the rucksack at the end because it needs to be at least 35 pounds. And as it turns out, mine weighed 42 pounds. So I carried the ruck, 42 pounds worth of ruck on the marathon course. And I mean, not marathon course, on the Tough Ruck universe. And so I got my Boston medal. And that was 2023. And I think I'm done, man. I'm going to turn 60. I think that's it. I might hang up my shoes. I just like to do things that are different and new. And I got the Boston medal. And at the time, it was right in the middle of my medal rack. So I was like, oh, it looks so good. Why upset something that works? It's perfect, right? Why mess with that? And but as your stories go on the podcast, there's always somebody who's like, well, I wasn't done yet. So this is so recent. I'm such a baby in this. Look, my ultra sign up page is like this long, right? Like, what? It doesn't even make sense, but I love it. I love it. So 2024, the year after the Tough Ruck, I go to Leona Divide, April, one of Keira Henninger's races. It's a famous, legit, historic race. She took it over from the creators from years ago. And I'm working the 92-mile aid station, right? It's also the 42-mile aid station if you're running the 50-mile race or the. So I'm working it, and, making quesadillas, whatever. This guy comes through and he's older. I could tell he's older. And he's just like, boom, boom, spring this step. I'm like, what are you doing, man? And he said, I'm doing the 100. It's like, oh, fantastic. Like, look, man, want a quesadilla? Like, yeah, I'm making quesadilla. You want a quesadilla? He's like, no, man, I'm good. I was like, well, wait, how old are you? If I can ask. He's like, 65. And I'm sitting there and he said, I don't need a quesadilla. I'm good to go. I'm almost done. So thank you for your service. I'm glad thank you for volunteering. What a fantastic day. It's a good race. Boom, he's gone. And guys, I'm standing here holding a quesadilla in my hand. I'm thinking immediately, I walk away from the tent. I go outside and Mark, what are you doing, man? You can't hang up your shoes. Do you see that guy? We can do hard things in my city. What am I thinking? How did it even come to my head that I should stop doing any of this? So in that moment, April 2024, that's when I said, oh no, wait. Now I'm ready. I'm going to do some real ultras. I mean, I've done my 50Ks, but I'm coming back and I'm crushing it. So in that moment, April of 2024, this little baby ultra runner was born.
Welcome to the world.
Thank you.
Did you race any this summer then? Because I know you have something coming up, like in a few weeks, actually, in like less or a month from tomorrow.
Yes. So since then, I ran the Sean O'Brien 50K, and I ran a couple of 50Ks. I ran one of my own 50Ks just in Griffith Park overnight. It was fantastic. It was crazy and fun. And I got back into it by running the heavy half marathon, and then I was fortunate enough to run the heavy half, and then the heavy half at Santa Monica Mountains, one of KH's races, the same old races, but that's one of the January 7th, 2025, it burned down. All of the Will Rogers property, which is where this was run, it just completely burnt to the ground. So I was grateful. This was in the fall of 2024, because right after the race in April 2024, I'm like, boom, I start signing up for every race I can imagine. I get back into it. I run a 50K, tell my coach that I'm doing the 100. I'm doing Leona next year. He's like, okay, rock star. Sure you are. No problem. Okay. Why don't we build up to it and see what happens first. So I did a lot of build up. I did run the Leona Divide 50 miler. So the Sean O'Brien 50K was the first 50K I'd done over the age of 60. And then I just ran Leona, the 50-mile race in April, and finished 19:59:59. I thought it was going to be like I didn't get cut off, but only because Keira allowed for the 100-mile race to have the cutoffs be exactly for the 50-mile race, exactly what they were for the 100-mile race. Brilliant decision by the race director, because if you want to ever incentivize somebody to just don't penalize somebody for cutoffs when that's not really, no elites here. It doesn't keep the elites from finishing in 2 minutes, right? But so I was really grateful to finish. And Jesse Haynes, who's an amazing runner, and you know of, and he's been around for quite a minute. It was pretty cool. I high-fived him when I left, when the race took off, and because he was working it. And then he was there at the finish line at 2 a.m, whatever. So he actually got to put the medal around my neck. So pretty grateful for that. And yeah, I was pretty grateful for that. So I have covered the miles. I think I'm ready for a calendar. What do you think, Brian?
And you have a full. So this race in 1 month is Red Rock Canyon 100K, 62 miles, and it's in 1 month and 1 day from this moment that we're recording this show. So November 7th coming up. Gosh, is that?
It's right outside
Sorry,
of Vegas.
yep. Okay, and it'll be your longest distance covered so far on foot.
That's right. That'll be my first.
Okay.
So here, I just turned 62 in September.
And you're going to run 62 miles.
And I'm going to run 62 miles. I was hoping to do it at Javelina at the end of October, 100K, but I was way too far down on the wait list and I didn't want to jinx myself. So I just signed up for Red Rock so I could run 62 miles. But somewhere along the line, though, I thought, wait a minute. What other kind of magic is there in 62? Because listen, man, how many more New Year's Eve celebrations do I have? How many more Thanksgivings do we got? Come on, you're in the middle of raising your family and mine's up, and I'm really grateful. Forget the motorcycle, then the 2 strokes. I'm still alive. So every day I'm like, woo, let's go. I'm going to go, let me take any kind of run everything is worth celebrating. So I signed up for Red Rock. And then I committed to myself and Akira, I'm going to run Leona, do the 100-mile Leona because it just means so much to me to have seen that guy come through. So Leona will be my first 100-mile race. Leona's that's a 16,400 feet of gain. Not much, but it's a tough race and they have real cutoffs and, it's a real deal. So it'll be my first super race. But after Red Rock, which is relatively flat, I also signed up for the Sean O'Brien 100K. Sean O'Brien 50K was fun. I did it. It was a lot of fun, but the 100K is a real beast. It's a real race and there's real cutoffs too. That's 16,000 feet of gain. So I figured by January 31st, when I run the Sean O'Brien 100K, I'm training specific, I'm in it, and I'm really just, the goal is to finish, right? So I'm really watching the cutoffs. I'm trying to organize it so that my pace and my training gets me to just finish that race. And Sean O'Brien is the setup so that I can do Leona in April, my 100-mile race, right? But listen, man, I don't know if it's appropriate to designate it, to call it, to say it was Simon and Brian, but it could be. So here it is, Brian. You guys are just like chatting, like, who are you talking to now? And Simon's aloofness and his like, I'm doing 100 milers, like I'm doing it this way. Brian trying to keep the ship on course and trying to be kind and deliberate and compassionate, and you listen to everybody, and you really do, and you have. And when I heard all these miles and I see you covering Moab and the other distances and all the work you did with Destination Trails, I'm like, well, I didn't even know what that was, Brian, until you said it, right? So it was me kind of responding to all of your episodes. This was back in the day when you were, celebrating your 22 subscribers or whatever. It was a long time ago, right? So you just kept
we had 22 for a long time.
Yeah, you were whatever the number was, right? You just kept at it. And so here's the thing. So when I realized, I need to talk to more people who are over 60, because listen, if people in their 50s are barreling towards 60, and if they're runners, they're going to keep running, like Jesse Haynes, like Jeff Browning, Bronco Billy, like, come on, hitting 60, right? All these people, Katja Corbett, right? She's 60, right? So all these people who are amazing in the sport, they're getting older. So I start to interview a lot of people who are in that universe, right? And guess what? I get inspired even more. So a couple of months ago, I realized, wait a minute, that's the big takeaway. Life's too short to pretend like it's not. Get in the training. You hear enough people's stories, you watch enough videos, you listen to enough podcasts, you understand how it can work. So about 2 months ago, and I promised myself I'd never enter into any lottery unless I was willing to win it, right? So I did it. I said to myself, I'm doing this. I'm going to do my first 100K, my first 100-mile race, and my first 200-mile race while I'm 62. So I put my name in the hat for the lottery at Bigfoot. Of all the ones I looked at, I know 44,000 foot of gain, but there was reasons why Tahoe just didn't seem right. Moab seemed too far. Monster is ridiculous. Cocodona is too hard to get into. All these reasons why I was like, you know what? Bigfoot is the one. So I committed to myself, put it on the calendar, said, oh, this is happening. So I submitted the lottery, and I won the lottery. The only lottery you ever win where the first thing you have to do is give them your credit card. But boy, it was the greatest cash in moment I've ever experienced. Because in that moment, I'm now committed, registered. I'm in every one of those races. Leona just let me register last week. But So I'm in. So that's the calendar, Brian. And again, because I heard you and Simon talk about, well, I heard you talk about your calendar for so many times, Simon, same thing. And Mandy, yours is a different story because you got a dozen races. And forget one person's anything, right? It's everywhere. Appreciating all of kind of the impact you've had on me as a consumer and runner, and just inspired by all of it. So yeah, Brian, thank you. I love to hear that exhale, right? Because if we don't commit to it, we don't commit to it. We got to toe the line, right? Towing the line is what's important. It's not.
He's talking to you, Mandy. He's talking to you.
I heard you, Brian. I'm going for my run right after this. So, Mark, yeah, I so appreciate that. And I love that big calendar. I love your energy about this. I love that mindset. I just had a conversation with one of my employees this morning. Like we were talking about, so he's not a big runner yet, but he works for me and he appreciates the space, obviously. But like we just got done race directing a big race yesterday. We had almost 800 runners. And so the last 3 days have been cold, wet, tired, little sleep. And I was telling, we woke up this morning, we were talking about how we were so grateful that this morning we didn't have to go get into the elements and go anywhere. Like I got to sit on my couch this morning, wake up in my own bed, sit on my couch, have a warm cup of coffee with a blanket. And like those comforts in life are so awesome. And they're even more awesome when you choose to put yourself in situations that are uncomfortable. And more people need to do that, whether it's getting out and signing up for these big things at whatever age you are. It's never too late. Getting uncomfortable, putting yourself in a place where you're going to be tired and miserable and digging deep, or if that's not for you, finding some other way to do it, right? Like even for Justin, I was telling him this morning, I know you don't run a lot, but I think it's good for you. He's younger than me, he's a kid. And I'm like, I think it's good for you to have to do these hard things, to work hard with your hands and get muddy and grimy and dirty and be uncomfortable. Like we need more discomfort in this world, and it's never too late to do it, but it's also never early to do it. Like I think these 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, like we're seeing it more in the ultra space too, but we just need more of that to just appreciate life and be able to wake up every day and really enjoy that cup of coffee that you get to have and that warmth and the comforts we're all so lucky to have. So I love that you're spreading that message, especially to that 60 plus age group. And we just need more of that.
Yeah, I love to hear that. I agree with that. You got to talk to I am Paul Johnson, Sue. So a couple of your episodes, I've seen a couple of your interviews with older people, and it's it's fascinating because a lot of people just want to encourage everybody to move. That's one thing. So there's a whole category of people who are trying to just get people to move. And then there's a category of people who they're already moving, but a level of accountability comes into play when we identify perhaps ourselves as, oh yeah, we're over 60 and I don't care. You just say, call me old. I don't care. Do I say I'm old? Sure. Let's go. I can't wait. We talked to somebody recently. She's like, Anna Onhana, the one who was the last person to kiss the rock at Hard Rock this year, right? And she's in her 60s, and she's like, are you kidding? I couldn't wait to turn 50. Like, I couldn't wait to turn 60. And I'm like, because she knew the mechanics of age groups, right? And she was like, I'm coming in hot at 60. I'm going to set my records at 60. And check this out. Did you hear her? You need to talk to some of these people. Are just so amazing. And it was because I interviewed a couple of these people that I decided Bigfoot's my lottery. Not because it was anybody can do it, but because these individuals told their story and it seemed impossible and they did it. And that's me. That's me. And one of them reached out and said, look, I'll even pace you. I'll pace you at the end. The second night when you're about to die, blah, blah, I'll pace you. And we'll figure it out. I'm like, what? This is amazing. And Ultra Pam 100, she's amazing. Pamela Chapman Markle, you might have spoken with her, seen her before. She's the only person to do 10 Keys 100s, only human to have done that so far. She's finished 7 Badwaters. Bob Becker, who's the Badwater 80-year-old finisher, right? He's the race director for the Keys 100. This is in Florida. She lives in Galveston, Texas, and she runs all these flat miles, which I can't even imagine running 100 miles on the flat surface. Let me go to Leona. Let me go to some other places like, yes, different muscle groups, and it might kill me, but I couldn't just imagine on the flats. So Pam says, this is Bob Becker, right? 80-year-old, oldest finisher of Badwater. She's done 7 finishes of Badwater. She leans into the camera and she says, I'm going to beat Bob Becker's record at Bad Bob. Now, she's just turning 70, like right now, 70. So she's projecting that for the next 10 years, Becker's record's at 80. Maybe other people will break it between now and then. Her attitude about just the confidence of being in the world, loving what she does, try to be a positive influence across the board to people. It's just so inspiring. And when I see their ultra sign up pages, right, I pull them up and they go, Catcher Corbett's got 334 races. I mean, let that sink in. Just an ultra sign up. It doesn't count FKTs and marathons and adventuring and international events. That's a lot of races. So you call up your heroes, call up Jeff Browning, call up anybody else. There's a lot, but nothing like that. And yet to have that kind of attitude show up and work the aid station. That story you told about being out there at Moab, maybe the first time, Brian, I don't remember, but you were like this super remote aid station. Maybe you've worked it before. Maybe you're doing it again. I don't remember, but it was like, you're literally potentially saving people's lives, not just helping them continue. And it's inspiring, man. So inspiring.
Mark, where do you see growth with the podcast going? Are you going to continue to put out the content there? And are you shifting gears at all? I think you're only video at this time. Are you going to go to audio as well? Or
I am. And a great question, but it does track when I find people I like you pivoted. You pivoted more than once just to guess it was going to keep alive. And plus you have a life and you got a family, you got to run, you got to do things. And so as you watch that, and there's a handful of people that I pay podcasts I really love, and really it just let me know, you can pivot anytime you like. So it was a big deal to get 10 episodes up. I have 10 episodes live. The other one starts in a couple of days. And so every Thursday I try to put them out. I think yours come out on Monday, mine come out on Thursday. You did Tanya Olson, the amazing foot doctor at Michigan Glove. Yours came out on like Monday and mine was scheduled and came out for Thursday. I'm like, well, that's an interesting timing, but she's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. Her Fixing Your Feet is no joke. It's a Bible. Everybody should have it. I try to give it to all my friends. That's how good that 7th edition of that book is. It's about technology only. So here's my thing. I wanted to do something different. So my Run Long After 60 podcast, my episodes start just like this after you're talking to me, right? Then after you interview the person, then you do the intro, record it, see what your vibe is. So I do the same thing, but I try to get out and run. So as soon as I interview somebody, I go out and run with the camera in my hand and I just try to lay it down really quickly, 30 seconds, 45 seconds of what excited me about what's coming up. So I'm doing that and I love those. But for the audio version of the podcast, just like you do it, and Trail Runner Nation is another good example of them, the audio gives you an opportunity to have a lot more deliberate introduction. So it's not me just herky-jerky running with the mic, let's go. It's not like that. I love it. That's fun. But so I've got to record, and I'm gonna put up on Spotify, Apple, and Audible. Those are the 3 that I really want to get. So it'll get up there eventually. So it's just a matter of doing the recording and kind of clipping them together. I do use Riverside, so I realized that once I get the episode finished, I'll be able to record it, pop the intro in on Riverside, and then output it. Is that how you do it? You're on Riverside, so do you output it to Spotify? Do you output to the audio channels? How do you do it?
Totally. So I think Simon and I quickly realized that we need to meet the audience where they're at instead of just offering it on a video platform. So we put it out on all the podcast platforms, and Spotify will do that for you. And then Riverside and Spotify joined forces halfway through Simon and I's tenure, about half a year in. I was manually uploading it to Spotify, and all of a sudden they Riverside and Spotify joined forces and made it a little more seamless for me, a little bit easier. So it worked out in the long run. So yeah, in the long run.
So that people could listen to you while they were on there.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I bet I've only watched maybe 4 of your episodes, but I've listened to every single one of them. So that's where you were along the run. I don't listen. Do you guys listen when you're running on the trails? When I'm on the trails, I don't listen to anything. But when I'm on the street, I listen a lot. Do you listen?
I think that for me, it depends on the workout. It doesn't matter if it's trail or road, but if it's an easy workout or a long run, I'll throw something in my head, whether it's music and or a podcast. But if it's a deliberate speed workout of some sort, I might put on music, but maybe like the faster pace, music and just kind of zone out to it, but just for rhythm more than anything.
Yeah, I try. It depends on what's going on in my life. Sometimes I'll put on a podcast. A lot of times I'll try to listen to guests on other people's podcasts before we have them on ours. But most of the time, 10 minutes in, I get so wrapped up in the craziness of my life and in my head that I'm like issue processing through something. And then pretty soon I'm like realizing that I'm listening to something but not paying attention at all because I've had my own internal conversation. So then
Yeah.
I just turn it off and try to listen some other time. But
I drive a lot in Western Colorado, and so I listen a lot when I drive. I go into Moab this weekend. I'll be there. It'll take me 3 hours to get to Moab. I'll knock out 2 or 3 podcast episodes on the way there. I'm there all weekend with very little structure in my time, other than just watching trackers on a map until my runner shows up at mile 170 to pace them until mile 200. So quite a bit of time on my hands. So I'll do the podcast. I'll work remotely on my computer, but I'll listen a lot over the weekend.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I wanted to be respectful of your time, Mark, but before we let you go, I wanted to make sure we asked you. Brian and I have been trying to get better at this, and sometimes we nail it and sometimes we forget. But talking to you, I'm so stoked to hear what your guilty pleasure is.
Yeah, I'm ready for that. I was ready for that question. Because of in the last handful of episodes, I like that, but I'm also mindful of your choices, like what you're talking about. So I gotta say, I don't, truthfully, I don't think I don't have any guilty pleasures. I'm certain I had them in the past. The guilty pleasure might have been when I'm raising the kids, I'm doing a thing, and like, right before the kids are born, I played a lot of golf 1,000 years ago. Like my kids are 22-year-old twins living in New York, thriving in New York, crushing it. But before they were born, I played a lot of golf, spent a lot of time. And that was kind of and when the kids were born, it was like, there's no way could do that. There's no way. So I just walked away from it, period, end of story. I didn't care. I didn't miss it at all because, it was great. So I don't have any guilty pleasures, meaning that I don't have anything that I I don't have any of that, but maybe I could say hobbies and things that I love that have nothing to do with running. How about that? Right. As we get older, because that might be kind of what you're,
we
right?
kind of talked. Probably should have prefaced it. We didn't want to hear like weird things from
people.
No,
well, that's right. There's one episode where Brian said some kind of caveat as he described it. I'm like, well, wait, what the fuck? What are you trying to ask? So that's good. So maybe it could be hobbies outside of running, things I love outside of running. So 2 things. Once my kids got out of the house and went to college, and I realized that I could get a motorcycle again. So I rode motorcycles my young life, including one where I almost died. And then when I moved to LA and we're going to have kids, and I promised to my wife, like, yeah, okay. She said, you can't have a motorcycle in LA until the kids are grown. And I'm like, okay, I'll honor that. And one time the kids get up and they're probably 18 years old or so. And in the kitchen, they don't know this deal ever went down. And of course, my wife forgets about it. So in the kitchen, they're like, Mom, Dad, on some other issue. Mom, Dad, we're grown. Blah, blah, blah. We can da-da-da. I'm like, oh, you're right. You're right. You guys go for it. You two, go for it. They leave the room and I turn to my wife immediately. I'm like, did you hear that? You hear that? I'm like, what? I'm like, they're grown. It's like, yeah. And I say, no, they are. What does that mean? And I said, that means I can get a motorcycle again. And she's like, you're insane. You're not going to do that. Anyway, I did. I got motorcycles. I sold my 4-wheel vehicles. We still have a 4-wheel vehicle to need it. But so one of my pleasures is I'm an adventure motorcyclist. And so I ride to all my races. And if I have to camp out, I have to camp out. And right. So Bigfoot is not going to be that. It's way too far. But the other ones I recce them. I go out and I recce the race, and I might get an Airbnb somewhere close by and carry all of my gear. So that's one. And my other one of my other current ones.
That's a challenge, though, you can't sleep in the front seat anymore then, like after the race. and it's not like, I don't know, I feel like I could relax in the car, but like you got to stay alert on a motorcycle.
Listen, you got to pay attention. You got to learn, right? So I've learned a lot of things by these people who are my age doing these things. And the thing I learned is that I got to get me one of those converted trucks, man. I've seen such tricked out vehicles. They're going to ride. They're going to say park, and all the comforts, creature comforts in a badass looking vehicle. That's what so really I'm like, okay, Mark, that was a little premature. You shouldn't have got rid of my FJ. That's really what I think. The other thing I spend a lot of time with is I'm a snake guy. My girls early on were reptile lovers. And so I still take care of one of my daughters has 2 snakes, little ones that I take care of. But since they're out of the house and I was able to do what I really wanted, I have 2 big snakes, and so they're my
big
caretakers.
Can you define big?
I have an inland carpet python from Australia. He's full grown. He's about 9 feet long. He's not going to get any bigger. And then I have a reticulated python who's a baby. She's only about 3.5 years old. She may live to be about 30, and she could be 30 feet long. So the reticulated python could grow to be the largest snakes in the world. Right now, she's about 10.5 feet, and she's not that big and fat, like not one of those
Sure.
kind of, you don't see that yet. It comes over time. She's probably about about as thick as a Chipotle burrito. Unless when she's eating, then of course she gets bigger than that little lump. So I guess that's the things I like to do that define me a little bit. They define me a little bit, and my friends are all like, "Yeah, man, you know what that means?" I'm like, "What?" And it's like, "You spend a lot of time by yourself. Get out there, start a podcast, go meet people, do more service." I'm like, "Okay." They're right. And so I do.
So we asked about the snakes, but I got to ask about the bike too. What kind of bike do you have?
It's a Harley Davidson Pan America. And it's a GI edition. They gave the special edition issue. They had a special edition painted in olive drab with an Army yellow star on the side of it. So when you pull up to the side of it, you can't really tell it's a Harley. It's really muted. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I tricked it out with all kinds of bags that are the same color coordination. And so anyway, so it's a Harley Davidson. I've had others when I first was, realized I was unleashed to go get Harleys. I had a few, and then I got more responsible, and now I just ride this one adventure bike that looks like packing a lot of gear to run to a race, and people are just like, what are you doing? Anyway, so that's what I do. That's a guilty pleasure. You guys have reality TV shows that you name. So and then what's this you have this pimple popping thing, and you can edit this out maybe, Mandy, but do you have an issue? Do you have a problem? Like, do we need to do an intervention? I'm not sure what's happening.
I don't know why I don't know. There's a reason. We should probably Google it. There's a reason people enjoy watching extraction of things. Like, it's just, I don't know. It draws you in. You're like, ooh, that's disgusting, but also intriguing. I have no idea where it comes from. I probably go to therapy and then
no necessarily. No. Do you ever watch when you ever see videos of a surgery that before you do that, you're going to have that procedure, right? YouTube, like, look at the thing, right? So you can really, right? You ever do that?
I've never had surgery, knock on wood, but I mean, yeah, it'd be a similar thing. It's just intriguing. I have a new guilty pleasure though that I wanted to talk about quickly. I move a lot of porta potties with race directing.
Right.
And
you got blue juice on you. Sorry, did I spoil it?
I got blue juice on me this weekend, and it's disgusting, and I hate touching them, but it's almost become like this badge of honor when I'm like, we need to move the porta potty, and everyone's like, oh no, we can't do that. That's impossible. That's going to be heavy. And I'm like, no, we can do it. So my sanitation company dropped 2 porta potties in the wrong spot this past weekend, and I was like, I'm going to move them. And the guy was like, oh no, you don't want to do that. It's going to be really hard. It's going to be really heavy. And it's probably like me just trying to prove someone wrong that tells me I can't do something.
Yeah.
So when I know I have to move a porta potty, I'm like kind of excited. I'm like, ooh, we got to move that porta potty. And so
now it might be to the point now, Mandy, where you're moving porta potties just to move porta potties.
Just for fun. Wait, do you have a pallet jack? Do you have a pallet jack? Like, how do you move porta potty?
No, they don't.
You push them, or
they slide them on the rails.
This weekend, Saturday, we had a crazy windstorm come through Windsor while we were out course marking after the porta potties had been dropped off, and the units didn't get staked down, which they should have. They completely tipped 3 of them over. And I, in the middle of like the night, like 10 p.m. Saturday night before the race, I by myself am out there freezing, lifting the porta potty up from the tipped over state to the stand up state by myself.
Mandy
Bravo, man. Wait a minute. Wait a second. Come on.
I might be disclosing too much information, but Mandy is about 110 pounds, I'm guessing. And she's 5'2".
She already described herself as being like this. So like, what are you, Mighty Mouse? Like, that's insane.
I'm fun sized. But I think I don't know. I guess I like a challenge. Maybe that's my
I love it. Before I forget, though,
call the company and be like, the porta potty tipped over. What do I do? I'm like, you pick it up.
Porta potty patrol. Let's go. Ring the bell. Ding, 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 ding.
So I thought of Mandy last week. I thought of Mandy last week when I was at the football field for cross country practice on the outside of the football field. There's 3 porta potties. A huge wind gust came up and knocked over one, and I just thought, I wonder what Mandy's doing. Like it just, it's just randomly like, It automatically like just went straight like the porta potty, boom,
it up. He's like,
hit the ground.
And I'm like, I'm here.
Right.
I haven't talked to Mandy in 48 hours.
What would Mandy Mullen do? Wow. Well, now there's a piece of this that I didn't make sense to me once when I first heard it. But the MC guy who you love, who you guys have interviewed before, but your MC guy, but did he get roped? Did he get roped into like coordinating the porta potties? Like, is that how you cut the deal with him? Like, what? That's brilliant. So he's the MC guy, and then he's also responsible for porta potties. What?
He's not. No,
Oh.
it just always happens that he shows up to MC right when we're wrapping up course setup on race morning. And so the timing is always right where he gets there and he's like, okay, what do you need my help with? Because he'll help with whatever else before exercise. And I'm like, Skeletti's here with the muscles. Let's go. We got to go move to the porta potty. And it never fails.
I will never connect those two because I saw how hard it was to disconnect Simon's question to Brian, how are your knees, right? So we're disconnecting it because it's not a real thing. It was never a real thing.
Mark, I still get it. I was at Leadville and people on course were asking me how my knees were.
How are your knees, Brian?
Well, in one way, you got to embrace that because now you can say like people only know that if they know they heard it enough from Simon saying blah, 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 right? Did you do it? So, wow. Okay.
Spoiler alert, it's in the documentary too. I actually say that my knees are good. I answer the question.
So you're keeping the spirit alive of the question.
Right. Brian, do you have any updates on your guilty pleasures? We can't leave you out of this.
Yeah, what do you say, Brian?
Right now. I don't. I'm not prepared for that.
Next time.
Mark, the name of the podcast is Run Long After 60. It is on YouTube, soon to be on Spotify. Where else can our listeners find you at?
It's an Instagram feed as well of Run Long After 60. That's on Instagram. And I opened up a TikTok account and a Facebook account and YouTube. But it lives first on YouTube and then it pushes to all those other areas. So yeah, once I get the Spotify up and running, it'll be or the audio, it'll be up and running there too. And I'll republish and repush things out because, the first handful of episodes, as you can imagine, you hear 1,000 stories like, oh, you can learn so much. But man, these people are so good. These people are so crazy. The first guest I had, Stephanie Irving, 14 people towed the line between the ages of 60 and 69 at Cocodona last year. 14 people started in that age group, which is great. Only 3 finished. And she was the only woman. And come on. What? Yeah. It's amazing. And I also love that, I don't keep paying attention to you all, but there's a lot of people now in their 60s when they finish and they're never on the podium. And only one person can ever be the DFL. And so I'm hoping that I feel like it's happening. I'll find that audience of that because they're all worthy of celebrating. And these are strong people who have great stories. And the ones who are out here willing to talk about it are giving human beings. They are in service all the time. And maybe we're fortunate enough half of them describe themselves as quote unquote retired. I'm not. I'm a lawyer and I'll be lawyering till the day I die. I am grateful though that I have a lot of race directors, coaches, financiers, brands that are running related, and it must be tied to an aging audience. And so I'm grateful to have still finally kind of in a way tie my law practice with my maybe running was my guilty pleasure.
Boom.
Oh, big insight, brain. Look at the magic of the two of you. Put you in the same room virtually and magic happens.
Thanks so much, Mark. Great. We appreciate it. We'll be tuning in for sure to check out all your past and future episodes of the Run Long After 60 podcast. You have 4 big challenges coming up in the next year's time, and we'll be following those along as well. We'd love to check back in with you soon.
Good. We will check back in. One of these days, I'm going to get up to Run Windsor. I didn't understand, never heard of such a little town and how you can step into a little town and convert it like that. No wonder you wrote the book. Congratulations on that, Mandy. Wow. I mean, and you're in the search for other cities. Me too. Let people populate what they're interested in and watch it grow. You're a great community connector. And Brian, I'm going to find you on the trails one of these days. I will be there.
I won't be at any of these races. I'm actually in Tahoe 200 next year currently, but we'll see how that plans out.
Well, you should. And I'm concerned about that air quality and that pollen, the yellow pollen and all that. I remember too many. Yeah. My lungs couldn't handle it too well, but all right, I'm going to find you somewhere. I won't I'll either pace you or harass you or maybe both. I don't know. It's your choice.
You could harass me while you pace me.
Yeah, there we go. That's the way to do it. Pacing.
Always a pleasure, Mark. Thank you so much. It was
Thank you both.
great.
This was amazing.
We'll catch up. Let's
Okay,
catch up
good.
soon.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.